Welcome to the week ahead. I am David Palmer, and I'm with Chris Onefeather. How you doing, Chris?
Fantastic. Spring is slowly inching away across the land here in the Midwest and the North Country. So we're getting sunny skies and a little bit warmer, but it's been a very slow advent of spring this year.
Yeah, it's really affecting me with allergies. I'm like, oh, totally. And I don't know. I never used to have allergies, but it must be something you get when you get older. But definitely feeling that, feeling the sun. I've been getting tan, so it's been nice.
Yeah, I've been riding around with the sunroof or moonroof open on the car and absorbing rays. Of course, I have the heater on, blasting away, but nonetheless makes me feel like there is hope for something. But the nice thing, though, is that we've got the sun firmly positioned in Taurus now, so we really are in that first swing into planting seeds and getting our lives aligned with new growth.
Yeah, and we're coming out of this, partial lunar eclipse in Taurus Scorpio, which this is such an important axis, having the nodes here. This is why there are eclipses in this zone now. And so it's interesting to see that the universe is putting a lot of attention over in this area. I mean, Taurus, Scorpio energy are fixed signs, so this is the meat and potatoes of our life here, especially this is the peak of spring. And I think it's interesting to see that we really are trying to understand our core values here, a lot of the physical needs in our life, especially because all that Scorpio energy as well. This is a very weird energy. This is like a very light and dark energy. It's kind of that black and tan, or,
Absolutely is. There are a lot of gray shades that we're having to stop and examine. And of course, whenever we have an eclipse, it basically means that the moon or the sun is being shadowed by the presence of the earth between the two of them. And the way that impacts those of us who are here on the earth is that it can bring things that are in the shadow into light, or it can take things that we're taking for granted and cast a shadow on them and cause us to have to reevaluate exactly what's going on, especially when the moon is, having a full eclipse or partial eclipse. It really does make us struggle to see what is actually real and what is illusion that we should be addressing.
And because you're such an amazing tarot reader, I always think of the moon card in tarot. There's stuff that comes up underneath that you don't feel, especially in Scorpio, right? It's like deep stuff, which can go even really to really big past life stuff. Stuff that you just even forgot about, subconsciously forgot about, coming back up, because we tend to, in Taurus, go back into the green side of life, like run away from the problem and go back into our comfy bed sheets and eating Teddy Grahams in the bed and stuff.
Yes, and that's also actually kind of the fun outside edge of all of it, is being able to spend the weekend in bed with order in Chinese food or whatever floats your boat. But like you were saying, I was turning a couple of cards here to see if I would synchronistically pull the moon card up, and virtually every other card is coming up but the moon card. But in the illustration of the moon card, we have the presence of dogs howling at the moon, and then the crab is emerging out of the water in the imagery. And of course, as you had mentioned, we've got this activity going on in Scorpio, where the moon is transiting through Scorpio. It's naturally going to be in trine to its natal home, which is Cancer. And so, a lot of stuff always comes up when we have the moon becoming either full or renewing itself in that Taurus-Scorpio axis.
Yeah, especially because here we are on Friday finishing a partial lunar eclipse, but the moon's still in Scorpio all day. And I really feel that coming into the weekend, there's this sense of, oh yeah, there's those problems, I can't run away from anymore. Or even on a very positive note, you know, this is the life I'm ready to go get. You know, this, like, one thing about Scorpio too is, even though it'll show the bullshit, right? It'll expose the truth. It'll also give you the power to transform your life and the intensity that you need to make things happen.
Well, and this is going to be a weekend of review, because after this full moon happening Thursday night, Friday morning, a lot of events from this week in building to the filling of the moon is going to leave us with consequence. You know, just like the insanity that happened in Boston, just like you know, the insanity of these shootouts in shopping malls. There is consequence, and this is a time when we want to move away from the past, when we're trying to clear all that energy out and get ready for this new phase coming in with Taurus. So this may be a kind of an intense weekend for a lot of people, because they will be feeling that the past really has to be released. It has to be healed. And so it may not be much of a party weekend. It may go more in the direction of introspection and wanting to listen to soothing music, and like we said, have comfort food.
Yeah, it's a funny weekend because Sun and Saturn opposite, you know, in a full opposition. So here we are at odds, you know, really looking after, you know, a lot of the frustrations, the issues. I think it's interesting. There might even be people that do go to party. The moon's in Sag, trining Uranus. There's this like excitement, but there's a big lesson. So it's like, watch out now and don't get lost. You know, the moon's going to square Neptune. There's going to be just this really weird energy of wanting all this change, yet there's the fixed energy of what is the problem, what are the solutions, what is the truth. You know, I think this is interesting to see that Jupiter as well leaves 16 degrees and goes to 17 this weekend. And this is the first time Jupiter's been to 17 in over a decade. You know, we're out of the Jupiter shadow period this weekend. So everything really is taken off in a new direction after this weekend. Woo!
Yeah, finally, we're going to finally feel like we were justified in all of the perseverance and all of the energy we've been putting into our own transformations. So it's going to be fun also, I think, to watch children, because they are the ones who really have this empathetic response to spring and to fresh air and to new growth. And I think that if you pay attention to children around you, they will capture your imagination, and you'll reclaim your own inner child with this new Taurus energy. So it's going to be a good time to, you know, get prepared to dance around the maypole and do childish things. So give yourself permission to do that this coming week.
I think that's exactly the best way to describe it, because right before you said that, I was going to interrupt and say that it feels like when you go to a casino and you waste all your money and you have one of those little, you know, those little forms that say you have 5 cents left, you know, it's like with Jupiter at the end of the shadow period, we've used all that fortune up. We've used all that expansion. Like we've learned a lot in this whole entire, I'd say, 9-month period of Jupiter in Gemini. But this last half, to go halfway through a sign in less than 2 months, is going to be intense. This is going to be a gnarly 2 months of expansion and growth, us really blowing our minds, us seeing all new facts, a lot of new fortune. You know, the universe is like plugging in our credit cards or our little casino things with more cash kind of energy. Like, whoa, here we go. You know, we're like kind of at the end rope as we come to this weekend. You know, that partial lunar eclipse, the sun opposing Saturn, and then literally it feels Monday is like go time, because now everything's starting to trine Pluto.
Right. And as Jupiter finally does arrive in Cancer, it is going to be interacting more directly with Pluto and more directly with the chart of the United States.
Yeah.
So this is when we are going to have to pay some dues. And I think this summer is going to be somewhat tumultuous. So it's a good idea right now to get yourself prepared for any unexpected shortages, you know, to find places around the house where you can sequester $20 bills just for emergencies, things like that, that are practical, that don't really have any painful effects in the immediate period of your life. But it's a good idea to lay a few things aside for Jupiter entering Cancer time.
Well, and it's interesting to see as we do come into this new week, you know, it is all about the grounded energy and in this new expansion before this Jupiter Cancer energy, because there's a lot to finish up really fast. I feel like God's lesson plan here is going to be fast, because to see Jupiter just go through half a sign in such a small amount of time is really interesting to see. And this is where we're going to watch people's lives completely go down the road we've been talking about for the last 2 months of all these shifts and changes and, you know, processing. I really feel like this is the time where just the tracks are laid and it's time to roll on them.
Yeah, and you know, like you were saying, things are going to accelerate in part because we've also got Mercury finishing up its passage through Aries.
Yes.
So Mercury is taking that Aries energy, that vitality, that electricity, and the kind of residual energy it picked up when it transited Uranus in Aries. And now it's getting ready to bring that into some kind of consequence as it enters into Taurus. So by the end of next week, you will be ready to make commitments, to sign on a dotted line, to, you know, buy the new car, initiate the new cycle.
Definitely, because I think as we come into this week, as the energy starting to trine Pluto, the moon, you know, started in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, there's a lot of like change energy, and especially I think a sigh of relief as the sun finally breaks off Saturn, you know. But we are building up towards now a Mars opposition to Saturn, so even though the consciousness is there, you must not act in the wrong kind of way this week. There is this weird energy around making the right move and making sure that you're very focused on the right move. And I think that that's important to note, that this Mars opposing Saturn energy is one of the greatest battles, I think, in space. Whenever you have Mars that wants to go and do what it wants to do, and you have Saturn watching from far behind but still pulling behind like a leash saying, you know, you need to make the right move in your life, this can really bring a weird energy as far as we have the right understanding, yet can you make the right move? And especially as you described as Mercury finishing up in Aries, there's this will still to go act in our mind that is very strong, because Mercury is going to be at the same degrees as what the bomb went off at. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing that's interesting, is that with this Mars-Saturn interaction, you really do need to be somewhat mindful. I mean, you know, don't set yourself in the direct line of fire. Be mindful about where you're going and what you're doing as far as large groups of people, social interaction, because we're still in a very edgy period here. And a lot of people have an agenda, and they're trying any avenue that's available to pursue that agenda. And there's really no reason to get caught in the crossfire. You just you know, exercise a little discernment, go to places where you have a comfort zone, and trust your instincts, because that's really what it's all about, is your intuition is really getting fired up right now with this, you know, expansion of the moon and sun opposition, and then this advance into Taurus with all of this energy clustered, the Venus, Mars, Mercury, Sun, passage into Taurus. So this is really a time of a lot of vitality, a lot of new growth coming in.
Big time, especially because as well, Saturn and Neptune this week get closer back to their trine. Neptune goes to 5 degrees, Saturn goes back to 7. So now we're getting this really new energy again of really where our reality can become the imagination that we've always wanted. But it's this deep underlying energy, you know. There's this understanding of Taurus that we need to physically feel it and see it and touch it and have it in our lives. Yet all of the great magic is happening deep inside of us right now. And it's happening and pulling up on very deep emotional waters. And all the energy is here for it to manifest, but you have to be clear on what's happening deep down inside. Be clear on what's happening in your imagination. And I think with all this crazy ego energy, as Uranus comes to 10 degrees to almost perfectly square Pluto, you know, the tension's there to like crack the ego in a way to become this new self and realize that it's not in what you materially gain in this life or what you physically touch, but what is the deep stuff that's happening from within that you're feeling inside.
Yeah, it's absolutely a fact. And, you know, one of the things that that we don't always pay that much attention to is the activity of Chiron. And Chiron is going to be in that exact trine energy also with Saturn. Mm-hmm. And Saturn and Chiron are both teachers. And so there are going to be some very profound life lessons being presented to you. If you are able to take those lessons and run with them, you can not only heal yourself and heal the people around you, but you can vector yourself into a new direction and attain more success, more fulfillment, more enrichment, and a deeper capacity to share life with others. So it is a very, very powerful period here as we move more deeply into that period of spring.
We do, and you know, this is also the 3/4 moon square. This is like, you know, the moon will be in Aquarius midweek, and it's going to square Mercury, Mars, the Sun, Venus, which are all in Taurus. Now we've got the party in Taurus, and the moon is going to be in Aquarius. So I think that there's a big check midweek as, wow, this is what the new physical energy is. This is the new sense of your life, because I really think that there's a lot of sense that comes along with Taurus, like what is the feeling of your life at, and to emotionally take a check, you know, disconnect from it and make sure that you're feeling life out in the right direction, that you're building your life in the right way. I think it's important to see that the universe does this hard check-in, especially because Mars will still be opposing Saturn and the moon will be squaring. So there's a T-square with the moon and this Mars-Saturn to make sure that you're feeling things out right and pushing yourself in the right direction. Like, don't just be running on crazy whims, you know, be responsible, really pull in that energy from deep down. I think that's the lesson is don't do something that is because the money is there, or don't do something because it seems like it's going to be physically in the physical reality better. Make your base decisions off your true emotional, intuitive, and disconnected from the reality kind of energy, because you'll go farther, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. And in addition to your own growth, you are always in the process of teaching those around you by your actions. And again, this is a time to be very discerning and to contemplate, you know, do I want my younger brother to perceive me as being all about grabbing the money and running? You know, everything that you're doing, especially in this Taurus time, is going to leave messages and signals to the people around you, and they will remember that. They will think about that 6 months from now when you are having to address decisions that you made in this time frame that perhaps were not in everybody's best interest.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, closing up the week, we just get ready for that moon to come into Pisces and really chill things out. I think it's important to note that this week is going to bring a lot of, it can be challenging if you're not being understanding of that deep energy and you're not really paying attention to the moves in your life and you're not feeling it out. You know, that Taurus energy, you got to sensually feel out your life, but not forget about what you emotionally want. But the moon, I think, saves us. I think as we come out of this week, you know, we take a bath in our soul and we start to reflect in this nice, beautiful way as Mars then pushes off Saturn. It's like, okay, yeah, let's go. You know, It's just like, you know, this is the new road. Jupiter's then really starting to push forward. And I think there's this beautiful energy of like, all right, here we go. And I think we really go into the spring in our direction.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And as far as the cards go, this coming week, we've got the Four of Rods, and this is a holy union. You know, this is the act of engaging in the dance of life, forming partnerships. and is very appropriate for early Taurus energy. Dance around the maypole, put flowers in your hair, celebrate the mundane activities of life, and again, be very mindful of where you're going with all this stuff. And then we're moving into a period of learning from experience. And, that's what we were talking about earlier, the review, observing what the last few weeks or months have been all about. The Eight of Pentacles is the card of the student. But within this, the good news is that the student is being paid for studying, for learning. So that's really what life is. It's a big payoff for all the struggle, trials, tribulations that we may appear to be going through. The rewards down the road make it all worthwhile. So I think we've got some really positive, powerful energy. And by the time the moon hits Pisces, look at that, we've got pure potentiality that we're moving back toward. So by next Friday, a week from now, we're going to be moving into a position here where we can really get a clearer sense of where we want to be in 6 months or a year or in 5 years. And the universe is going to support us with those decisions.
Yeah, I feel a big support coming for everybody. I mean, big solar eclipse that we're going to start building up to as the moon starts to come back over to Taurus. I mean, we're building up for a powerful solar eclipse. I don't know if everybody remembers last year's solar eclipse that was at 0° Gemini. I mean, that was a very big event in everybody's lives, and then that actually kick-started a summer that people remember, I'm sure. This is going to really be the kick-starting energy of leaving behind the last 6 months that we brought up last week. Like, this is really pushing us in a new direction. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And actually, it goes beyond the last 6 weeks of the last year. Because of the activity of Jupiter, it's pushing itself forward. So now we've got 10.5 to 11 years of resolution going on. We're capping off this last Jupiter transit around all 12 houses. So, yeah, a lot of rewards, a lot of payoffs for the effort we've been putting into our existence here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I mean, I really enjoyed this reading. I'm really excited to see what we all build here. I think this is an exciting time, and with Jupiter now moving forward, it's amazing to see, what new abundance does come our way, what new learning comes our way, what new expansion of our mind, because I really feel that this Jupiter Gemini energy, we haven't even seen the craziness happen yet of what's going to blow our minds. I think we're all going to be mind blown these next 2 months. I think that there's going to be some events, there's going to be things, there's going to be personal things. Remember, Gemini's your close environment, your brothers, your sisters, your relatives that are close to you, because it's the immediate environment. And with Jupiter here, our immediate environment is changing. And so, and it's expanding and it's growing. So this is fast, quick things happen in Gemini. Just like 1 minute this happens and the next minute that happens. And that's why this last year has been very crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but we all needed it in order to prepare ourselves for the unfolding of this new era that we appear to be approaching. So
yes, we do. It's a lot like a quick software upgrade on your phone for your apps, your upgrades. The quick ones.
Exactly.
So, well, all right, I love you, brother, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you have a spectacular week, and keep me updated on the development of relationships and insights, because I think it's going to be a profound week for you as well as for me.
I definitely will. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Bye.